to go overdo it when it's not on. They're going to play defensive shape on the side of the ball. They're great tactically, defensively as well.
You see the Armada in their home blues and the new RP Funding logo on the chest. In white, it's the San Francisco Deltas, and we are underway here at Hodges Stadium and the start of the fall season after a rainy day last night and then early this morning. Beautiful skies starting to clear. You can see the sunshine starting to beam down on this field at Hodges Stadium. We'll keep an eye on the field conditions as well. It has been so rainy here of late in Jacksonville. There was some concern about how fast or slow the surface might be. A little bit of rain speeds it up. Too much can slow it down. Yeah, absolutely. You can tell right here closer to us in the booth, right now where the ball is, you can see how wet it is. Beautiful stadium though, great pitch. The conditions are great. Excuse me, Gebhardt making a run, but Romuald Pazer came off his line to cover it. Pazer, one of the most accomplished goalkeepers in the North American Soccer League. And that's exactly what you were talking about, that last ball right there to the goalkeeper, Cole. If it skips right around the 18, is going to skip away from you. So when you play the ball on the ground, you got to make sure that you play with an amount of space so he's not going to stop on the grass. Steinberger trying to feed for J.C. Banks. Carl Ouimet, the former Armada defender, cut him off. And it'll be a throw-in for San Francisco. The Deltas in their first season in the North American Soccer League and certainly acquitted themselves well. They really started with an older roster, 27 years of age when the season began, third oldest roster in the North American Soccer League. The Armada have been one of the younger rosters in the league, particularly the bottom half. They do have some veterans who play just about every match. Here's Kalen Ryden, who did play, in fact, every match for the Armada in the spring season, played every minute of every match at that left back spot. Pitch Colin, the captain, tracking back, and Meshach Jerome able to clear it to Drew Becky for Jacksonville. And once again, you see that formation that we talked about with four in the back for the Armada. They're so close, so they're going to stop the pass between the gaps. You see the big number 3, the captain in the back, doing a great job closing the space. You want to leave everything in front of you, especially playing against this great team in San Francisco. Don't let them get behind you, especially early in this game. Throw coming from Maxime Tissot. Here's Heinemann. Very recognizable with the floppy hair and the tall figure. Crosses right to Jackson, the Brazilian. Number 9, he's going to come back and check. So into the box and headed away by Pitch Colin. Caleb Patterson-Sewell, the Armada goalkeeper, one of the best performances in the spring season in the North American Soccer League. He really made a difference. It's a good chance here for San Francisco. Christian Portilla, left-footed in-swinger from the left corner, and you can tell how sunny it is for the goalkeeper. Banks able to poke it away. Collected by San Francisco near midfield. Now crossed in, headed away by Ryden. And Derek Gebhardt gets to it with a head. Shoulder-to-shoulder collision there between Danny Cruz and Gebhardt, and a foul called on the veteran Danny Cruz. And that's the physicality that you and I were talking about, Cole. In the beginning of this game, both teams, especially San Francisco, is going to come here into the Armada field and just try to impose themselves physically. And of course, the first 10 minutes, try to make sure that the Armada knows that they're going to be here for 90-plus minutes. And they're not going to get away with an easy result, even though they're playing at home. Here's Meshach Jerome, and you can see the Armada have already gone to a 3 at the back look, with Drew Becky releasing forward from his right back position. Here's Ryden. A number of changes in the interim between the spring and the fall as a result of the new ownership for the Armada. One of the smaller ones is that the benches are now on the far side of the field, so the players, the coaches, will be looking back into the sun until it sets behind the grandstand. Well, and one of the reasons for that, as you know, Cole, is you want to keep the attention away from the players. You want to make sure they stay engaged. As you see in some of the European stadiums, the benches are so high, so even the fans, the crowd can't really get to them. In this case right here, there's no fence behind. None of the fans are on that side, so there's not going to be any interaction with the players. Here's Steinberger. Gebhardt. Now Jack Blake tried to tap it back to Gebhardt, but he was cut off by Patrick Hopkins. center back for San Francisco. Some half chances so far, no full chances for either side.
I like Jack Blake, though, in the middle. So quick in the middle, trying to play that through ball. But as you mentioned, one of the advantages for the Armada playing that 5 across, as you can tell in the first 8 minutes of this half, as soon as they lose the ball, Cole, they can turn around, try to get it back, and of course, they're going to try to explode the space right away.
Drew Becky with a throw. Another throw in for Jacksonville. Becky was pleased to hear of the acquisition of Brian Shriver. They were teammates in Carolina previously. Shriver, who is on the bench for the Armada, will bring experience, knowledge of the league, and goal-scoring capabilities. Wonder how long it will take him to round into form and feel like he's fitting into the structure of the side.
Well, but it's always an advantage when you get to once again play with some of your teammates, players that you play with. So we see the referee close enough for that little push.
Kevon George whistled. You could certainly envision a scenario where Shriver would come in maybe in the last 10 minutes to try to add some punch if the Armada need a goal.
Oh, absolutely. And just the fact that you just got traded, you need a little time to, as you mentioned, to get close to the players, know the system that you're playing. And a lot of the times, coming off the bench gives you that advantage because you're coming in with a full tank of gas against a team that has been running for 70, 80 minutes already. So you get to showcase your talent in, 10, 15.
Here's Jackson, the Brazilian, trying to drag it past Kalen Ryden. Pitch Colin in the right position, as he usually is. It'll be a throw-in for San Francisco. The Armada 6 wins, 6 draws, just 4 defeats in the spring season. San Francisco won 7, drew 5, and lost 4, and had 2 points better than the Armada in the spring standings. This one swung in by Michael Stevens, punched away by Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Ilundu chases after it. He's got a head of steam. Here's Charles Ilundu ahead for Gebhard, who got a hard tackle, challenged and pushed down by Patrick Hopkins, and that drew the whistle from referee John Freeman.
Great job by the Armada coming out, and it all started with the goalkeeper Caleb Patterson-Sewell with a great punch, as you see this tackle right here. And the call happened because that extension of that right elbow, that right shoulder, once again the referee close to the action. So still in the San Francisco Delta defender will back it up.
Just trying to get Tyler Gibson to give some room. The first 15 minutes or so in the match here in Jacksonville earlier this year between these two sides saw San Francisco really get aggressive, and the physical play really carried on the rest of the match. Here's Ilundu, couldn't quite get to that feed. It's cleared out by Tiso, and now Jackson runs to it for San Francisco. Jackson, the former Sao Paulo man, slides one through. Meshach Jerome able to cut it off before Danny Cruz can get to it.
Great job by Gibson all the way to the front line. He made a great run through the middle. Nobody picked him up. Ball got played a little behind by Jackson. That could have been a great chance for the Deltas.
A throw, here's Michael Stevens. Now Jackson. Got a little bump from J.C. Banks, and that drew the whistle.
Good spot right here for the captain, left-footed Portilla. He's got a great delivery. He's going to try to go far post. In swinger.
Sent into the box, trickled all the way through, and then saved once and over the top by Caleb Patterson-Sewell. What a job by Caleb Patterson-Sewell on a ball that just kept bouncing through.
Very dangerous delivery. We talked about Portilla's ability to deliver the ball to the far post. In swinger, it trickles a couple of players, and how about that save by Caleb Patterson-Sewell? Just when you thought the ball was going in, great angle right here. Watch this. left hand, goes up just to make sure the ball was going to go out. He taps it over the bar.
And the corner, sent away by Jacksonville. Gebhardt being pulled. And a goal kick coming for the Armada. As we mentioned, 3 ways to make the postseason in the North American Soccer League in the fall season. You can win the fall and do what Miami did, have the best record in the fall season. Miami did that in the spring. Or have one of the next 2 best overall records of the combined fall and spring season. So every point is valuable. Every point is crucial for both of these sides, who had a good run in the spring but did not clinch a postseason berth.
And you and I, Cole, talked about consistency. It's not just a one half. Of course, they divided the season in half, but for these teams to keep adding points in the second half, they just got to stay consistent. They got to go back, see what worked for them in the first half, and just continue to do so.
Kevon George will take the free kick for the Armada after a little conversation between John Freeman, the referee, and Tom Heineman. Here's Gebhardt. Really started to come into his own at the end of the first half. Now Jackson on the counterattack for San Francisco. Jackson has some help, keeps it himself into the area. And then Zach Steinberger just gently steps in front of that one to stop any attacking opportunity for the Deltas.
Yeah, Jackson took way a little bit too long, just right on top of the 18, had a couple of options, tried to go with the route of taking 2 players on.
Stevens tries to send one in. Banks got a foot to it. Then Ryden sends it back out for Jacksonville. Here's Kevon George, Trinidad and Tobago international. We mentioned the signings for the Armada, the acquisition. Brian Shriver won. Tony Taylor, the former NYCFC player who had been playing in Portugal, comes back home. He played his high school soccer at Bishop Kenny and played collegiately at Jacksonville University. So he'll be happy to get back to Duval County. There's a through ball from Ilundu, cut off by Tiso.
It's always good to come home and play where you play your high school ball in college as well, especially somebody who's gone all over the globe now, played NYCFC, as you mentioned, now in Portugal. For him to come back to Jacksonville, it's great. He's going to be excited about playing, and adds a little something to your game. You want to prove that you can play, especially at this level.
And if Ferreira, throw for the Deltas, goes right to the feet of Mishak Jerome. We should also talk about international travel. Taylor has been capped by the Panamanian national team. His parents of Panamanian descent, so he has international duty for both club and country. And then the third addition that was made and just announced today, Kieran Kilduff from Ireland, and he has scored 31 goals in 2 years with Dundalk of the Irish League. So some real attacking power coming to the Armada. That was the one thing that was missing, was consistent goal scoring. Now here's Jackson on the counter. Jackson into the area, saved by Patterson Sewell. Heineman couldn't get his foot to it, tripped over the top of it, and the Armada avoid disaster.
Great job once again by Caleb Patterson Sewell, just getting enough on the ball. The big man on top, Tommy Heineman, just had a tap and not able to stay on his feet, because that could have been the 1-0 for the Deltas. Great job by the Armada recovering and getting back. On the defensive side, though, you need to figure out to plug that hole in the middle. This is the second time Jackson has dribbled through 4 or 5 defenders. He had a shot right around the 18.
Boy, that close to going down 1-0. This is a San Francisco team that has not scored a goal against the Armada in 2 matches, remember. 0-0 here in Jacksonville and 3-0 Armada with a victory in San Francisco in the spring. Now Gebhardt, through ball for Ilundu. Can he get there in time? No pace there. Came off his line and slid to it. Even at 37 years of age, the Frenchman Romuald Pazer quick enough, and it was this close to a 1-0 Deltas lead.
Yeah, you can tell the big man on top, Heineman had, and once again Jackson goes near post. That should have been a goal. Technical breakdown, and he would love to have that one back. But once again, good job by the Armada defenders just getting back. You can tell he's not happy with that without execution. He's not a left-footed player. However, you got to be able to put those away, especially inside the 6-yard line.
Heineman really had a big moment playing for Ottawa a couple of years ago in the postseason. He became just red hot toward the end of the year and then into the postseason, and really raised his stock around the North American Soccer League. He was signed by Tampa Bay last year, and then this year reunited with his former Ottawa coach, Mark Dos Santos, in San Francisco.
And that seems to be the case. Dos Santos brought a couple of those players who played for him, you know, in the Canadian side. It kind of worked for him, as we see his brother here.
Philip Dos Santos. And Pazer certainly was one of the first calls that he made to bring the goalkeeper in. A bit of a conversation going on now with Charles Ilundu.
Well, Ilundu, yeah, was apologizing, try to, you know, do the fair play and shake his hand, and you can tell he wanted none of that. That's the kind of game we expected. You and I talked about it. A little chippy in the first minutes. That's just going to escalate, and that's how we ended up seeing 2 red cards for the last 2 previous games for this San Francisco Delta.
Heineman again getting physical. That sets up a free kick here and a good position for the Deltas.
Yeah, once again, we know Christian Portillo, you see him, the captain on the ball, number 8. He's got that lethal left foot in swinger. He had a great cross, almost ended up on a goal. Good chance for San Francisco, but once again, though, you got to make sure if you're the goalkeeper, you got to cover that near post. Caleb Patterson, and of course, make sure you stay with the runners inside the box.
Jackson is the furthest from the ball right now, was holding his hand up a moment ago. You see Jack Blake and J.C. Banks eyeballing the San Francisco players who will come on the run. Here's Portillo. Sends it in, top of the 6, double punched away by Caleb Patterson-Sewell, and too much congestion out front. Patterson-Sewell able to negotiate, but Heineman was right there, and I think he was whistled for interfering with the goalkeeper.
Yeah, Tony Heineman gets called for the offside, if not for intervention. Goalkeeper comes out, owns that box. Yeah, you can tell Tommy had no chance to get into the ball, and he actually climbed the defender's back. In that case, number 5, Aaron, the captain for the Armada.
It'll be a throw for Jacksonville. '18th minute at Hodges Stadium here on the campus of the University of North Florida. First year for the Armada to play in this park, and they have really taken advantage. The large playing surface certainly plays to the Armada style. Here's Ilundu showing the speed into the area, and Pazer able to get a foot to it. It'll be a throw-in from near the corner flag.
Great job by Ilundu taking 2 players on. He's able to get to the end line, looking for the far post. Jim Hard was making that hard run to the near post. Once again, watch that, cuts the ball to the inside. Then he goes to the outside, once again, keeps the ball. That cross should have been pulled out a little bit. Nonetheless, great chance here for the Armada.
Here's Kevon George lifting one toward the penalty spot. And a counter opportunity now for Heineman and the Deltas. He's got Danny Cruz to the left, but Meshach Jerome has good position on the former Philadelphia Union man. We mentioned last time these two sides played here in Jacksonville that Cruz has seen a lot of the Armada through the years. When the Armada played their first ever preseason match, it was against the Philadelphia Union at Everbank Field, and Cruz was the representative for Philly in the press conference leading up to the match, and then was part of the team that saw the Armada win 3-1 over Philly to start their existence.
Well, you mentioned the facilities here at this stadium, and it just, I can tell you from, playing in more than a few stadiums, this is just great facilities. Every bit from 120 to 80 width. The pitch is wide, it's big, it's beautiful. We know the amount of rain that you get in Florida, so it's a little moist right in the middle as you see where the ball is. But other than that, I think the Armada is going to have a great home here, especially as they're trying to make a run to the playoffs.
Yeah, last year and the year before, playing on a converted baseball field at the Community First Park, a shorter field didn't really play to the Armada's strength, which has been possession and pace. Here's Steinberger getting kicked from behind.
Great turn right there on top of the screen, Steinberger. But you're right, though. One of the best things that the Armada, as we see, I think he might be really hurting. He's asking for the trainer. talk about a very technical team who loves to come out of the back, and the Armada, of course, as we see the replay right here, ball goes into the space, great turn, and I think both feet just got tangled. He might have either rolled his ankle or his knee.
Christian Portilla, the captain for the Deltas, getting looked at right now by their training staff.
So a field is big when you talk about playing that baseball stadium. It's not conducive for a technical team that likes to use the width. You see, that's a little of the part of the field that we're talking about. It's been, you know, a lot of humidity, a lot of rain, and that's why it's so easy. But that's the best grass you can have. That's Bermuda. We love to play in those that type of field because the roll is just going to roll so easily. As we see the coach give you some directions right there, switching the point of attack. How quickly can you do it? How successful you're going to be.
Interesting, too. I don't think the field conditions impacted Portilla there. He was right down the middle where the grass is in the best condition. They're going to bring out the stretcher to bring off the captain for the San Francisco Deltas. Portilla hasn't missed much in terms of action this year. He's played every single minute of NASL play for San Francisco. He's the only outfield player to do so for this team.
He doesn't, and as you mentioned, he's a captain as well, so he represents so much for this squad, for this team. Great delivery on that left-footed in-swinger. So we see once again, Portilla was making that run defensively. It's right there where you can see that he tangles, the legs just got tangled. Steinberger, the player who had just turned, trying to go forward. I think it might be his right knee that he keeps grabbing.
So he'll go off to the side for the time being.
If there's one thing, if you're San Francisco, you do not want to rush the sub. You got to make sure that Portilla, you give him a chance to come back. So if not, that's going to be crucial for them. He does so much at center mid for this Delta squad.
Jack Blake will handle the free kick here. He has handled most of them when he's been healthy. He had an emergency appendectomy earlier this year. Goes short with it to Alundu, who tries to finesse it over the top. Went too high with it. It'll be a goal kick for Romuald Peze.
Alundu with a cheeky little play, trying to chip the goalkeeper. Not enough space, though, for the ball to dip. Good idea. Wrong club. Go with a pitch and wedge right there. Let it drop right in front of the goalkeeper. Good delivery right here. It's a set piece. Sees the goalkeeper out. Little chip to the far post. And I like the fact that they're trying something new. You got to play with the San Francisco defenders, get them out of their zone. That's one of the advantages of San Francisco coming here and pretty much just parking the bus. They're going to play defense. They're going to kick everything out. And of course, that man right there, Pieser, has been excellent for this San Francisco team this year. Has definitely kept them in a lot of games.
Going over the top of it now, trying to get it to Ilundu. Blake now has it for Jacksonville. Now Drew Becky. Greg Jordan is taken off the bib on the San Francisco bench, and they are going to sub out their captain, Christian Portillo, here in the 23rd minute. So an early sub just halfway through the first half for San Francisco. This could play a major impact in the game.
Absolutely, because Portillo does so much for the San Francisco side. But we saw him in the middle of your screen walking very gingerly, not able to put a lot of weight on that right knee. Jordan making the sub, coming in.
Jordan, a former second-round pick of the Philadelphia Union out of Creighton, has spent the last 3 seasons prior to this one in the North American Soccer League with Minnesota United.
See, and the difference between Greg Jordan as a defensive center mid instead of Portillo is that he's not as creative going forward. Portillo's got that very elusive left foot. He can in-swing, he can drive the ball. And to me, pound for pound, Portillo's a much better player. As we see the trainers, you know, trying to check that ACL, make sure it's nice and stable.
You could tell when he went down, Portillo knew right away that something was wrong.
Yeah, and you can tell when somebody's faking it or
yeah,
somebody's trying to milk the time. He went down, and right away he was asking for some assistance from the bench.
Jack Jerome, pressured by Danny Cruz, able to handle the pressure. Now pitch Colin to Ryden, who has to slide to keep it in. Knocked out by Michael Stevens. It'll be a throw for Jacksonville.
And that's what I'd like to see Jacksonville do. Switch the point of attack as quick as you can. You know, how quick can you get to the other side? Once you're there, you got to be able to find a penetrating run to your 2 tough forwards who have plenty of speed. They've shown already how they can get behind the defense.
Drew Becky has to come back, slide it back to Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Cruz continuing to run at him, putting some high pressure. Now Ryden, a nice piece of skill. And cleared out by San Francisco. Another throw for Jacksonville. Ryden showing a little finesse there. Known as more of a power defender. First game of the fall season for both sides. 16 fall season matchups for all of the North American Soccer League teams. Miami has already punched their ticket for the NASL Championship semifinals. They will host one of those semifinals. The Armada and Deltas both hoping to join them in the postseason. Offside flag was up.
Yeah, linesman alluding to over and back. The player came back from an offside spot. And San Francisco's going to take that all day long. You can tell Peace how much time he's going to waste in between each set piece.
Yeah, you have to think that Philip Dos Santos got the call from his brother Mark Dos Santos that 0-0 would be a decent result here away to start the fall.
Oh, absolutely. You get to play against a good Armada team. They're playing away. So for them to travel all the way from San Francisco here, they would be ecstatic going home with a point.
Here's Ilundu getting it to Gebhard. Ilundu and Steinberger in support. Derek Gebhard into the area. A little 1-2 from Steinberger. Gebhard got a foot to it, couldn't curl it, and goes down in the area. Armada calling for a penalty. And Gebhard went down hard.
Yeah, Gebhard got the call outside the box. So as you can tell, the big man on top arguing. Tommy Heineman not like the call. The ball got away from Derek Gebhard. He made contact with the ball. However, he was looking for that in-swinger with his left foot. Predominantly not a left-footed player, so the ball got away from him. But what a great 1-2 with sack Steinberger right on top of the 18. Pretty much the best chance for the Armada in this first half.
Gebhard has become a marked man when the Armada play, particularly against physical clubs like San Francisco. He has such great pace, so explosive over the top. Let's take a look at how this all played out. It was a beautiful little one-touch from Steinberger, and then that looked like it was inside the box from that replay.
It was inside the box, but watch, the defender's never looking at the players, looking at the ball, and he was just late. There is contact, however.
Yep. Right on the top of the foot.
And you're right when you say Gebhard is a marked player because of that pace. You know, if he gets around you, you have no chance to try to catch up with him. So either you cut the pass, which is what they're trying to do, or double team him. In this case, there was 4 players inside the box. As we see Jackson, who was making that defensive run. And that's exactly how we got the red card against Miami 2 weeks ago. He was just late to a tackle.
And look at this, they're giving it as a goal kick. I saw a card come out of the pocket of John Freeman, and I think it was to Heineman for something he said. But instead of a free kick in a dangerous spot for the Armada, it's the Deltas who will send it out.
Well, and Tommy Heineman was definitely vocal about that as we see him receiving that foul now.
And there's the yellow card on Kevon George. Took down Heineman with some aggression. And we're being told that there was no yellow card issued previously.
That's exactly what you and I were talking about, how chippy this game is going to be. You see Tommy Heineman collecting the ball. That's definitely a yellow card, if not more. He's lucky he didn't get a straight red because he didn't even touch the ball. And look where the contact. He makes full contact with his right ankle. Referee close enough. George has to be careful. When you're in the middle right there, you got to make contact with the ball.
You said it at the top of the broadcast. You expected chippiness and physical play, and we've seen it from both sides so far. Some passion on display here at Hodges Stadium.
At the same time, Cole, your tackles have to be away from the box. They have to be somewhere where they're not going to hurt you, what we call a professional foul, and you have to know when to tackle someone. You can't just go cleats up.
Ball to hand there, not called a handball. Chasing after it's Danny Cruz. Cruz to the byline. Sent it over the top. Nobody could get to it. Now here's Jackson. Jackson tries to slide one through. Too much pace, though, for Jordan to get to. Goal kick for Caleb Patterson-Sewell.
Yeah, Danny Cruz with a great run down the line for San Francisco. Fake 2 of the Armada defenders. In-swung the ball to the far post. Totally got under the ball. And as the game goes on, San Francisco, they're almost happy just staying in the back and collecting the balls. We see once again.
Heineman stepped in front of that one. Steinberger went down. Not as aggressive a tackle as Heineman was the subject of a little bit earlier.
And one of the things that's going to happen, it happened in the previous games, Heineman is going to not get the ball on top of the 18, so we're going to see him tracking back more and more to get the ball. Before you know it, he's going to be all the way in his 50-yard line, which is not where you want him, being the fact that he's a post-up forward.
Here's Blake getting to it. Tyler Gibson makes the turn for San Francisco. Now here's Heineman coming all the way back for the ball, as you mentioned. Now Michael Stevens. Here's Jordan out wide by Tiso, and can't connect with anybody in the box. Banks got to it first, but then collected by Tyler Gibson. Half an hour in, no score, but certainly plenty of action so far.
That's a great ball by Tiso, the left mid from San Francisco. Once again, you see him wide open right here at the bottom of your screen. I like the fact that the Armada, look at their shape right now. So disciplined in the back. You can count all their flat back four players, semi-flat back, and then of course the outside players marking, tucking in.
And a giveaway right to the foot of Meshach Jerome. Now here's Steinberger looking for a little open space. Feeds for J.C. Banks. You see the Armada not as aggressive on the counterattack as San Francisco has been. They are willing to play possession soccer here.
Yeah, and it's okay because you need to pick and choose when you go forward. To see the great ball
here's
into the corner.
Ilundu cuts it in. Set away by Hopkins. Now a blast by Banks. Levitated too much. This has been a physical match in the first half hour.
Banks with a great chance right here as we see the physicality of this game for both teams.
Just what we expected right out of the gate from both sides. Gebhardt has felt the brunt, so has Heineman. Heineman's delivered a couple of blows as well.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get away with a clean tackle like that, either the ball or the player. You won't get both.
Now here's Ilundu looking to cut through. Pulls it to the outside against Ferreira. We're now being told that the yellow card we thought we saw earlier on San Francisco did indeed get pulled on Jackson. So a yellow card for both sides here in the first half. Gebhardt can't quite get there in time. Hopkins able to kick it away. Now Kevon George.
Let's not forget, Cole, that Jackson had to sit out a game already because of a straight red against Miami. So, and that's what I was talking about. Do they have the tactical discipline? We know their coach is out for a game. That was the third game where they got cards in a row, and here they are sitting in a yellow. Jackson has to be careful because that could very well turn into a red.
Here's Gebhardt on the run into the area, couldn't control it. Some contact from behind and a penalty kick coming for Jacksonville. Gebhardt has drawn it. The pace of Gebhardt creates the PK opportunity. Carl Ouimet can't believe it.
Gebhardt with a great run into the 18. And if it wasn't enough contact here, Cole, is because how many times they touched him. Great little touch with his stomach right there. There's contact. How much of that? You'd be the judge right there. There's definitely a pull from his left shoulder.
Yeah, I think extending the arm probably got Hopkins here.
Right there. You can tell that he's pulling a little bit. Not sure if I would have called that a penalty kick. However, the referee is the one that counts. He was behind that play, and he awards the Armada with a penalty kick chance right here as we see the captain saying none of that happened. It's all an illusion.
Well, it's interesting because earlier we thought there was a chance for a PK when the yellow card was pulled on Jackson. It was not deemed to be during the run of play, however.
And once again, Cole, as you know, a lot of the times referees call that because the accumulation of how many times it has happened, they just doesn't call it something that clear. You said, well, it's definitely got to be a penalty kick. It is definitely a penalty kick. We'll see who's going to step up to take it.
Appears to be Jack Blake, the Nottingham Forest man, who has scored on the PK in the U.S. Open Cup, looking to do it here against Romuald Pezer. Jack Blake gives the Armada the 1-0 lead. His third goal of the season. Blake delivers, And the Armada are on top.
Great penalty kick by Blake. He steps up at the right time. You know, Cole, we talk about having the character to take the penalty kick when it counts. Blake steps up, looks to his left. The goalkeeper, Piecer, dives that way. And of course, he tucks it in the corner. Very so cool, calm, and collect. Making it 1-0 for the Armada right here. Look at that. In step.
And watch the celebration. Nottingham Forest. Sheriff of Nottingham, a little Robin Hood action.
That is classic penalty kick taking right there. Great job putting it low on the ground. Didn't panic, didn't try to hit the ball as hard as he could. Just tuck it in the corner, give your team a chance. And here we are, Armada up with about 10 to 12 minutes left, depending on how much time the referee gives.
Here's Jackson weaving through in the box and tried to get a foot to it through Kalen Ryden. It'll be a goal kick for Jacksonville.
That's pretty much called the only player that I think that individually can hurt the Armada. Jackson has the pace, has the ability to go through players, and he's got the vision. So you have to be careful. You want to stagger two defenders, one in front. As we see one more time, replay of the penalty kick. Great job on the ground, going near post. Nothing Piecer could do. He actually dove to the wrong side.
Now we'll see if this affects the tactical approach by San Francisco, down 1-0. Rather than being level on the road and willing to perhaps take a 0-0 result, now they'll have to get a goal back if they want to salvage a point.
Well, that's a great point you bring up, Cole. It doesn't change anything right now in the first half. You want to go at halftime, keep everything the same way. Hopefully, you can convert in a free kick, what we call set pieces, corner kick, free kick, anything outside the box, or even a counter. However, you're not going to do anything tactically right now, as we see the skipper right there. You know, they have the time, they have the score. They can just cruise into halftime. You want to go into the locker room with that 1-0 lead if you're the Armada.
Mark Lowry certainly happy to see the goal get on the board. The Armada have now outscored San Francisco 4-0 in the 2 games plus 36 minutes these two sides have played. Here's Ilundu with some space in front of him. He'll take it wide on Heiner Ferreira. Charles Ilundu, a couple of step overs, run on from behind. Tiso got to him. Ilundu not aware that he was being trailed by Tiso.
Yeah, it took a little bit too long, but you can see how good he is in the ball. He went right, defender went left, and it's the back defender who was making that defensively run who caught him. But you're right, you want him one-on-one on the sideline anytime.
With the pace of Gebhard and Ilundu and the work rate of Zach Steinberger, the veteran savvy of J.C. Banks, those 4 are where the goals have come from this year. Ilundu creating some opportunities. The other 3, Steinberger, Banks, and Gebhard, had combined to score 14 to the first 17 goals scored by the Armada this year. Jack Blake just added his 3rd.
Well, and he's so fast that what he's going to do, he's going to stretch the field going forward. He's so elusive that when you play that ball into the corner, let him run, let him go one-on-one against some of the fullbacks, and he's going to beat your center mids, your fullbacks, a little bit of time to recover as you get back defensively.
Banks will wait on the throw. A little bit of extra energy here by San Francisco. Maybe starting to feel it right now after conceding the first goal of the match. Here's Heineman. Well tackled that time by Kevon George. Now Banks shoved from behind by Heineman. Heineman has been in the middle of a lot of these physical plays, both giving and receiving.
No, definitely a very technical player. We talked about his size. It's every bit of 6'2", 6'3". He loves to play that that energized number 9, that post up. And I tell you, he runs for 90-plus minutes. So you know what you're going to get out of him. Of course, great in the air. He's looking for some in-swinger crosses for him to score.
The Armada with that RP funding logo on the chest. They debuted the sponsorship the last match of the spring season in Indy with the white kits. Now this one for Steinberger. Gebhard can't get a foot cleanly to it. Ouimet was shielding him away, and Pazer able to handle it. Gebhard continues to create threatening opportunities for the Armada.
Great job, though. Once again, great cross. Gebhard trying to get at the end of that. Steinberger on top of the 18, too. Those two players been very active for the Armada.
Kevon George whistled for the foul with a high kick. See Kevon, Trinidad and Tobago national, voted last year as the fans' choice for Armada Player of the Year. So steady, so reliable at that holding midfield position.
And as you know, Cole, that is a crucial spot. That allows you to have your number 10 run around and run freely. In this case, Gebhardt too, and Alondu that can make the runs because they know they have somebody like Kevin George making those defensive runs.
This one tapped in, headed away by Meshach Jerome. And then Meshach clears this one out. The regular center back, Nana Atakora for San Francisco, not on the match day 18 tonight. So a little different group of defenders. Here's Heineman trying to get ahead to it, could not. Becky able to send it away for Jacksonville. And then Ilundu got run through by Ferreira. No whistle.
And that's exactly the ball that Tommy Heineman is waiting for. The ball to the far post behind all the defenders. And as you mentioned, weird not to see their captain in the back for San Francisco.
Yeah, Atakora has been a fixture there. And we talked about clearances. He's the guy who usually cleans things up back there. Led the league in the spring season in clearances. One more than Aaron Pitchkolin. Ferreira with the throw for the Deltas. Over the top for Heineman. Little flick on header, but Drew Becky there for Jacksonville. We'll send it back to Caleb Patterson-Sewell.
Yeah, and you wonder if Atakora is not her because he's not even on the bench. He's not even the subs. So, you know, for him not to travel with the team, somebody, as you mentioned, who's pretty much been a fixture for this defensive shape in San Francisco, he's usually the captain in the back as well. So, of course, caps with the Canadian national team.
Big physical, broad-shouldered defender. Steinberger couldn't get to it. Jackson tracking back for San Francisco. Now Cruz will touch it back and sent along the ground, and it snuck up on Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Had to jump at the last minute dive to get a hand on it. It'll be a corner for San Francisco.
Great strike from 30 out, just when I thought he wasn't going to have enough power in that left foot. Tissot once again lets it go from about 35 out. And the keeper makes a great save. Once again, Caleb Patterson-Sewell, who's been kind of quiet, all of a sudden saves the day.
Another corner for San Francisco.
See, this is when it hurts. San Francisco not having Portilla on that left foot corner kick. Normally he takes those set pieces, as we see the referee talking to both sides. Caleb Patterson.
All the way over the top. Becky got ahead to it. And then kept in by Greg Jordan. Blake will send it toward Gebhardt. Final couple of minutes of regulation time in the first half. The Armada with a 1-0 lead on a PK by Jack Blake, set up by Derek Gebhardt's hard work.
Once again, Jackson has to be careful with that tackle because he came cleats up once again. Referee not close enough. That could have been his second yellow, if not a straight red.
Shaq Jerome heads it away. Jordan tipped over the top by Caleb Patterson-Sewell.
Wow. Caleb Patterson-Sewell with a great save just when you thought it was going to be halftime. The ball was dipping to the far post. Watch this hit right here. Gets the ball behind, take a touch, far post, and that's a great save because that ball was going in.
And that was some tremendous topspin by Jordan. Corner kick sent away by the head of J.C. Banks. Now, you were mentioning Jackson, who did get the yellow card earlier, and you tagged him out as the most dangerous player with the ball at his feet for San Francisco. He has to be very careful in the second half.
And that's the thing, he's a great player on the ball, and all of a sudden you see these tackles that are like, what are you thinking? Twice he has put his team in a bad place. Once again, bad tackle right here. Referee close
Jordan
enough.
took a big piece out of Jack Blake.
Greg Jordan right there.
John Freeman, the referee, calling Jordan over. Going to have a conversation with him.
And you'll see in the replay why this is so bad. Blake is planted already. His foot was planted. And all of a sudden Jordan comes out of nowhere, almost with a hockey body check. He's having a words with the referee. The referee needs to get a hold of this game or this game's going to get out of hand. We do not want to lose a player like Blake on a tackle, on a late tackle for that.
We're hearing 3 minutes of stoppage time to be added here at the end of the half. Jacksonville up 1-0. The 35th minute penalty scored by Jack Blake. Here's a long ball over the top. Drew Becky had drifted off the side. Kalen Ryden, his fellow defender, wanted a little deeper opportunity there. Here's Ferreira sending it forward for San Francisco. Ryden back to calmly head it to the feet of J.C. Banks. You would think the Armada would be more than pleased to go into the halftime dressing room up 1-0.
Oh, absolutely. This is part of their game plan right here, going up towards the halftime 1-0, and more than that as well, Cole. You have key players like Jackson sitting on a yellow card. All you need to do is bump him a little bit. Not that you would, but you do want to antagonize a little before you know you're up a man and you have to score on your behalf.
Well, you mentioned the reputation that San Francisco has gotten for losing players to red and yellow cards. It certainly cost them against Miami the last match of the spring season. Blake now takes the legs out from Tissot. Ahead is Ferreira. Meshach Jerome on the slide, tackles him away.
And once again, Blake has got to be a card.
I think we're going to see a card on Meshach Jerome. It's Absolutely. In the left hand of the referee, John Freeman.
It's got to be 2 yellow cards and not played. Blake gets one.
He put it back in the pocket.
Unbelievable. And Meshach has got to get the second one over there.
By the way, there is a look at the injured Christian Portilla. He's sitting in the front of that golf cart being taken into the dressing room.
Here comes the card. At least you got the...
And now the card is being pulled. I believe it's going to be pulled on Blake for the first attempt rather than on Meshach Jerome. I think they played the advantage.
Yeah, and Blake should have gotten a yellow. I'm okay with that.
Yep.
But the second one, it should also be a yellow as well. Look how late he is, and he's going cleats up. So if you're going to call one, you got to call the second one as well.
We'll get clarification, but I believe just the one yellow card pulled, because it'll be a goal kick here for Caleb Patterson-Sewell in what will likely be the last action of this first half.
Once again, here's the first one, and you can tell Blake, that right there, make contact. That's a yellow for sure, and I'm okay with that. Cleats up. The second one that happened down the street, about 30 yards out, that should have been a yellow as well. Same type of play, same type of result. Why not get a yellow?
Now Gebhard is onside in the waning seconds of the half and sent away by Patrick Hopkins. Will there be one more opportunity for the Armada here? It appears so. Quick throw in by Jacksonville. This one sent to the box. Header by Blake. Went across the goal mouth. And that's the end of the first half. Jacksonville up 1-0 thanks to the PK by Jack Blake. The Armada looking good to start the fall season against San Francisco. Hey, I think you have to say a positive start to the fall season for the Armada.
Oh, absolutely. I think they are where they needed to be. They came out. They pretty much play a great first half all the way from managing their cards. They were able to score on a penalty kick, but they're playing well defensively.
Well, Jack Blake a little slow getting up.
The fact that he's got the confidence to go forward, and he's going to make a few subs for the second half and trying to help his team win this game.
Jack Blake's in the center circle, the goal scorer in the first half, as we get ready to start the second 45 to start the fall season. Blake with the goal on the PK. The Armada trying to start the fall as they did in the spring with a victory. The Armada started the spring with victories over FC Edmonton home and away. This is a little tougher competition. The team that finished the spring in second. Long ball for Gebhard trying to split 2 defenders. Ferreira got there though for San Francisco. Kept in by Kevon George, now Blake, working in the middle of the park. Here's J.C. Banks out wide for Jacksonville. Now Kevon George. The Armada sending 7 forward and leaving just 3 defenders back. Ryden, Pitchkolin, and Meshach Jerome in front of the goalkeeper, Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Ilundu trying to get through. Got a shoulder into Ferreira. And a free kick coming.
Ilundu gets called for that foul, but he was just leaning forward into Ferreira's shoulder. That's a shoulder-to-shoulder contact.
Ferreira's shoulder a little bit higher than Ilundu's.
Yeah, that disadvantage. A little vertically challenged, if you would.
What Ilundu lacks in height, he makes up for in pace and grit.
Oh, and that for as well. We've seen him running from 18 to 18.
Cruz able to keep it in. Now this one swung in across the top of the 6, chased down by Kalen Ryden for Jacksonville. He'll let it go. Throw in for the Armada here in the opening minute. You heard Philip Dos Santos say that he thought that no need for any major tactical changes in the half. Interesting to see if San Francisco plays more as they did in the opening 10 minutes or the rest of the half. They were very aggressive in looking for counter opportunities in the opening, say, quarter hour.
Yeah, I think that's something they're not going to change. They're not going to change their enthusiasm going forward, especially with the ball. They're going to try to attack, and I think they're going to match up their intensity, and by that I mean the amount of fouls they're going to commit or challenges, if you will. They're a team that like to get stuck in, as we call it. So I think in the second half they need to establish that in order for them to get chances going forward.
Look at Ilundu motoring for this one. Now to Drew Becky. They'll play it back for Jack Blake. Now Zach Steinberger. He's got J.C. Banks on his left. He goes to the right instead. Through ball, Ilundu. He'll get to it in the box. Charles Ilundu, shot saved by Pazer. Collected by J.C. Banks. Banks will load it up with the right foot. Pazer a diving save. Robo on Pazer, former Golden Glove winner in the North American Soccer League, showing his skill.
Great job by the Armada. 3 different chances, 3 different players. Right there, he takes 2, 3 players, goes to the outside, was going near post. Piecer gets low and under, as you mentioned. Great goalkeeper, but I like the fact that Armada switched the point of attack. They got into the box with 3 different forwards, and they all touched the ball at one point.
Pazer speaks 5 different languages, and in any language, that was fantastic goalkeeping. Here's Blake late to get to it. Danny Cruz with a slide, got to it ahead of Drew Becky, but can't connect with Tom Heineman. So the Armada will recollect in their own end. It has been a fast-paced first 3 minutes of the second half, with the winds blowing in the face of the Armada here, from left to right as we view it.
Well, and normally it happens. You know, the first 5 minutes of every half, that's when a lot of the mistakes happen. That's when you give those goals. So the energy of that, and a lot of pro coaches will tell you the first 5 minutes you have to come out flying exactly the same 5 minutes of each and every end of a half. As you know, the level is going to drop a little bit. You start getting tired legs. You see the Armada playing 3 in the back, but keeping possession of the ball. They're going to play the width. They're going to play where the ball is on. And if it's not on, they're going to play that negative ball, keep it back, and then build again.
Here's Steinberger finding J.C. Banks. Banks accelerates, tries to get past Jackson. Cut off by the Brazilian. Banks continues to battle for it. Son of the former U.S. men's national team player, Banks, but he can't connect with Steinberger. It'll be a throw for San Francisco.
And great effort, though, because look where he lost the ball. The San Francisco Deltas have 80 yards to get to their goal, so that's when you can afford to lose the ball. You track back, you get your shape defensively, and then you start everything all over again.
Will be interesting to see what the Armada do with regards to substitution patterns in this second half. Jamal Johnson, who's started quite a bit for the Armada, is over on the bench and available, certainly. A guy who can be a defensive-minded or distribution-minded winger.
Well, and normally the way the substitution pattern goes on a team that it's winning, on things are going great, usually sub your outside players, outside mids, because they've been doing the most running. Now, if you have an injured player, of course, that's different. You've seen the case of Olondu and Jebhard, who've been running, you know, the whole entire time. So you can afford to take a forward for a forward out, bring some fresh legs, and also at the same time, Cole, you want to bring players who can get quality minutes. If you're up in the score and you have 15, 20 minutes left, you want to bring players who can get quality minutes on the field. You want to do that so they can get some experience.
Mark Lowry might also choose to go with Brian Shriver or Brian Rebion. If you want some young legs, Rebion certainly a guy who can run all day and won't have to coming off the bench. Ball over the top. Cruz got a hip into Meshack Jerome. And a whistle on the former MLSer Danny Cruz.
Yeah, he was trying to take advantage of that height and difference. Cruz, a lot smaller player, got underneath. And of course, the defender got the worst out of that tackle.
Cruz played last year with Minnesota United. There are a lot of players on this field on both sides that played in Minnesota last year. Aaron Pitch-Colin, Jack Blake for the Armada. A lot of folks went to Minnesota as that team was ready to make the move up to MLS, trying to get the attention of some MLS executives perhaps. They loaded up on the talent. Season didn't go quite as you might have expected with the amount of talent they had on that side last year.
Of course, and as you know, with talent came deep pockets. They spent a lot of money in that in the budget per year. It's kind of like the Yankees, and if you're not going to win the pennant, you know, a lot of players weren't packing, as you mentioned, and these were good quality players as well. You talk about they had a side with a lot of potential, a lot of player. They just weren't able to put everything together, and here we are.
It was interesting that Minnesota United kind of becomes a beacon for that next step when you know the club is going up. Certainly very few of the players who played last year for Minnesota United made the move up to the MLS level. Christian Ramirez, one very notable exception.
And it's interesting that you say that. That's the same thing that happened with the Orlando City. You had a lot of players who went through the, you know, hardship days with the move from San Antonio, Orlando. They win two at the time it's USISL or USL championships. You know, including the goalkeeper, did not make the jump to the MLS, even though they had the same coach.
Yep. And Miguel Gallardo was left behind when the movement to MLS, and so the Armada benefited for 2 years with Miguel in goal. Now he's back in the world of broadcasting. Had to take a pay cut. Here is Caleb Patterson-Sewell playing out of the back. Lifted ahead for Ilundu. Ilundu couldn't keep his feet. Now Tyler Gibson for San Francisco. Stevens stepped in front of it. San Francisco now with a bit of possession.
And that's when you see, you talk about the possession that San Francisco's been doing the last 5 minutes. That's when you get to see, well, you know what? They're a good side. They can knock the ball around. Here they draw a foul right around 25, 27 yards out. And this is when you wonder, well, wait a minute. If they can play this way, how come they're playing kickball the first 20, and how come they're in this predicament?
There certainly are some skilled players, and it's been successful for them. Let's not overlook the fact that this was the second place side in the spring season in the North American Soccer League. They just haven't been able to find the net against the Armada in 5 halves.
No, you're right. Even they struggled against Miami. You're right. They were for the 1-2, and then those last two games, they got to Miami, and they completely dismantled themselves on a 7-0 loss, and then they went home in the last 3-0 to Miami. But you're right. This is the second place team in the first part of the season.
There's Maxime Tissot to take the free kick for San Francisco. He'll author it with his left foot. Deflected once, twice, then Patterson-Sewell played the short hop.
That's when you miss your captain Portillo, that left-footed player who can aim-swing the ball. Great services, of course, went out in the first half.
How good has Patterson-Sewell been today?
He's been on. He's been able to keep this team. And right there, Heineman would have loved to have that one back. How about that one? That one was going in the back of the net. And he says, I don't think so, not today. This is the best one, though. Watch, the ball is coming down, and as he's flying back, which is the hardest thing to do for a goalkeeper, opposite hand with a glove just to tip it over the bar. That right there is the reason why the Armada is still winning 1-0.
Here's Heineman with Cruz. Cruz tries to split the difference, cleared out by Kalen Ryden. Headed back in. Now Meshack Jerome will have a chance to put a foot into it. The moon ball from Meshack. Flick on header by Gebhard. A little too heavy a touch off the foot of Ilundu, but you could see the idea that Gebhard had.
It was a great little flick by Gebhard, though. Good idea. As Charles Ilundu was trying to run into that flick.
Here's Heineman. Now Stevens. Tackled away by Kevon George. San Francisco maintains possession. Here's Jackson. Thinking about a cross. Splits it through. Steinberger back to defend. Steinberger with 3 consecutive interceptions of a ball off a San Francisco foot.
Yeah, you got to give it to him for effort. And once again, you get the sense of now this game is completely open, especially in the middle of the field. Now it's kind of a tennis match, go back and forth. Neither team has really gotten the ball and just kept the ball without having to go forward.
Here's Jackson again along the side working against J.C. Banks. Kevon George came over to knock it out for the Armada. Now, usually as we get to about the 60-minute mark, you might see a substitution by a team trailing, but because San Francisco already made that first half sub, you wouldn't think that Philip Dos Santos would pull the trigger this early.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. A lot of the times that's what we would call a tactical substitution. He went for a must sub in the first half because Portillo got hurt in that tackle. So therefore, he had to make an early sub. However, the whole bench is warming up right now, and just know that he's going to have to bring a forward or somebody with more attacking mind, especially in the outsides or the forward on top.
Served in for Heineman. Headed back, Cruz. Too much under the ball and sent it well over and onto the track.
Very difficult ball for Cruz to hit, and he made it even harder when he did not allow the ball to bounce. He caught it in the air. That to the fact that he's not a left-footed player.
There are the Armada subs starting to loosen up. You see Nicholas Maripu closest to the camera. Guy who has started for the Armada at times at that defensive midfield position. If the Armada want to put some more ball control in there in the second half, he could be an option.
I like that sub that you mentioned right there. Bring a defensive center mid, win the tackles, keep possession of the ball, switch your point of attack.
Now here's Gebhard on the run. The speed of Gebhard cut off. Now Jack Blake, the goal scorer. He has Ilundu to his right. Gebhard coming down the middle. Steinberger late to support as well. Armada will settle things a bit and reset. Jacksonville up a goal can certainly afford to be picky with their attacks.
That's great to see, though. Just cool, switching the point of attack, not rushing it. Ball has to go in, come out without losing possession. This is when San Francisco can be dangerous.
Greg Jordan able to pull it away from Steinberger, and now here comes San Francisco on a slow developing counter. Jackson through ball. Cruz is onside. Danny Cruz has equalized. Just like that on the counter, it's 1-1.
Great finish by Cruz, and once again, I said it the whole game, the most dangerous player from San Francisco. It's Jackson on the left. He played a great through ball right here. Look at this ball. Well paced, right behind the whole defense was really flat. And Cruz does the rest, looks up, goes far post. Caleb Patterson-Sewell not happy. He stood his ground. Great job, though, trying to hold on Cruz. And great finish by Cruz going far post.
Danny Cruz with the goal for Minnesota, rather the former Minnesota United player. Makes it a 1-1 contest. Talk about goals changing matches. Now things shift back. San Francisco has to feel good about their position now, shy of the hour mark.
Absolutely, because now they can afford to sit back, and now 1-1. They fought so hard to come back into this game, so now the Armada, they have to push the lines. Now there's be a great time for you to bring us up. Fresh legs, get a forward in, get an attacking player to go in, because now you need to score a goal. Just like supposed to 5 minutes ago when you mentioned bringing that defensive center mid would have been great. Now it's not a great sub. Now you got to go forward. You got to win the game because you're playing at home.
First goal scored by San Francisco against the Armada in history. Now Heineman into the area. Heineman mishit that one, sent it well wide, and Caleb Patterson-Sewell is now asking for a little more help from his defenders.
Great job by Sewell closing that space, though, because you don't want to give a lot of time and space to Tommy Heineman, who made a great run into the corner. And this is when you wonder, where is the defense? Great ball into the space right here. Look where Tommy, by himself, nobody around. He's got enough time to pick up his head, look far post, and he tried to chip the ball to the far post. Great job by the goalkeeper, though, Caleb Patterson-Sewell, who slowed him down a little bit.
Galen Ryden has gone down. You take a look at Patterson-Sewell, and Ryden appears to be in a fairly substantial amount of pain. They're calling the training staff over to take a look at the Armada left back. where the tenor of the match has suddenly changed.
Oh, absolutely. The whole thing changed, but you can tell by Stevens' jersey how he's not shy about going down and tackling people.
We mentioned Ryden has been the Iron Man for the Armada. As you look at Kevon George, Meshach Jerome, Ryden has played every minute of the NASL season for Mark Lowry. Wheels are turning right now. What if?
I know that look right there. Yeah. I know that feeling as a coach and as a player.
Now we're an hour in. The Armada scored first on the penalty kick by Jack Blake in the first half, 35th minute, after Derek Gebhard set things up, drawing the PK. Armada took that 1-0 lead into the halftime locker room. Then second half, take a look from behind. Armada had the lead, but Danny Cruz stayed onside and got it past Caleb Patterson-Sewell to equalize.
Great ball, great turn right here. And look at Cruz all by himself. Actually, the ball goes to Jackson. Now Jackson gets the through ball right there for Cruz. He waited, went far post for the equalizer, 1-1.
Ryden is up on his feet and coming off the pitch for the moment. Now being waved back on. So not as serious as perhaps it could have been. And after we saw Portilla leave off of the field for San Francisco, you kind of hold your breath if you're an Armada fan to see Ryden, who hasn't missed a minute yet.
Well, and one of the things you worry about right now if you're an Armada fan is, did we get complacent when we were up 1-0? Just a little more lackadaisy, a little more cavalier, if you will. Just, you know, you want to have that killer instinct. You want to finish the game. The game's 1-0. You got to score the 2 and the 3. You want to end this game. So now they're 1-1, but you're playing at home. You got to go forward, and you got to get the 2-1 score right now.
The next goal will change this match dramatically. Mark Lowry saying at halftime that maybe a chance to put in Brian Shriver in the second half if he needed a goal. Be interested to see what kind of tactical moves Lowry makes here in the final half hour. Down. Kevon George bows to head it. Here's Jack Blake. Drew Becky try to get it back to Blake. Could not make the connection. Down at the Armada players in the corner who've been loosening up, and Shriver down there with them wearing number 17. Here is J.C. Banks. Knocked the ball off the feet of Jackson. Corner kick coming for the Armada.
Good chance right here for the Armada on a set piece. This is when you want to take your time as you see Banks trying to explain the reason why he wasn't able to cross that ball. You have two choices here on Blake, who of course was instrumental in that 1-0 lead on that penalty kick. He's got that in-swinger driven ball.
Here is Jack Blake. Headed away. Kept in by J.C. Banks. Now Ilundu. He wheels. Ilundu with the left foot, elevated too much. Goal kick coming for Romuald Pezer in San Francisco. Ilundu, that's been, when he's misfired on shots, typically too much elevation.
Well, and you can tell by the way he trapped the ball. Good job technically when he brings the ball down here. But look at the turn. As he turns, the ball's in front of him. He's not a left-footed player. He's leaning back, and that's the reason why he puts the ball over right here. When he makes contact with the ball, he's leaning back. You got to put your head over the ball, and you got to drive the ball. That's the reason why the ball goes over the bar.
So when you're coaching young players, it's all about where your forehead is and your chest, right?
You always tell them, put your head over the ball and don't look up. Don't worry about where the ball goes. When you're leaning back is when you kick a field goal, you get underneath the ball. You create some height. And of course, when you're on top of the 18, as we see some young Armada fans, hey, they're just happy to be here. They don't care about the score.
They'll like it even more if somebody in a blue shirt finds the net.
We see a substitution
And here is Brian Shriver coming on in the 65th minute, making his Armada debut. Shriver comes on, Charles Ilundu will come off, and Brian Shriver making his Jacksonville debut just days after being traded. The Armada sending Danny Barrow and Jonathan Glenn to North Carolina FC in exchange for Shriver, former Clearwater High School star, University of North Carolina star as well. Free kick goes back post and headed away by Ouimet. Goal kick for Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Shriver, though, a guy who can score goals in his career. He has certainly found the back of the net. 15 goals in 2013 when he was the Golden Boot winner in the North American Soccer League.
Great forward, as you mentioned. Great pedigree all the way from Clearwater Chargers in the Tampa Bay area. And I tell you what, there's nothing better as a player when you get traded, you come into a game like this, and you score the game winner.
There he is. Shriver looking for his opportunity. This one went over the head of Kalen Wright. And the Armada just have not quite been in sync since that goal was scored by San Francisco. In a game of ebbs and flows, right now it's flowing in the direction of San Francisco. We'll see if Shriver, who just got his first touch for the Armada, can help change the course of things.
Well, that's a great way to put it. You're right, both teams have had ups and downs, and neither of them have been very consistent, and it shows in the score.
Here's a giveaway. Jackson with the ball for San Francisco. Finds Heineman, top of the area. Heineman with a turn, and a save made by Caleb Patterson-Sewell. Again, he has been Superman today for Jacksonville.
Outstanding effort once again. Caleb Patterson-Sewell. What about this goal by Jackson? Tommy Heineman, great turn. And look at that Superman right there on his 8-yard line waiting for the ball. Makes a great save. Once again, that was the 2-1 for San Francisco. Had it not been for the big man Caleb Patterson-Sewell, a.k.a. Superman today for the Armada.
This one set to the penalty spot and then booted away by Meshach Jerome. Now sent back in. Patterson-Sewell will watch it bounce high over the crossbar.
And did you see once again who played the ball into the big man on top? Jackson. I'm telling you, he's a very elusive, very good player when he keeps his head in the game. Tommy Heineman once again with a great turn. And there's nothing you can do as a forward. He had a great turn, great shot. He went low as opposed to the last one when he went hit it over the bar. Just an outstanding save by the goalkeeper, Patterson-Sewell.
He has been a huge addition this year. When the Armada were in the offseason trying to figure out what they're going to do with the goalkeeping position, they had a lot of questions. But Nathan Walter, the technical director, had really zeroed in on Patterson-Sewell, a guy who was born in Tennessee, grew up in Australia, has played professionally in half a dozen countries, most recently in Portugal. Here's J.C. Banks, tapped from behind by Jackson.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, he keeps playing like that, and he's not going to be in the NASL too much longer.
He's been tremendous this year.
I'm going to venture here and call him, he's going to be my goalkeeper of the week for sure.
Banks goes down. Little shove from Carl Ouimet. Free kick Armada, but not before a substitution coming for San Francisco. Now, Luban, a Tiso, who is a defensive-minded midfielder, but really not a one-for-one swap. Ball in the area. Cruz got a foot to it, and now sent away.
And we saw how much Tiso provided at the offense in the first half. Great couple of crosses to the far post. Great left-footed player. when you're bringing a player like that out for a straight defender, that tells you pretty much what you're trying to do in the last 15 minutes of this game. Of course, look, if you can prove to your older brother Dos Santos that you came in and you salvaged a game that was pretty much lost, then you did a good job.
Yeah, bragging rights at the
family table on Sunday
Christmas
afternoons.
table, yep. There's Ferreira crossing one. Cruz couldn't get to it. Banks did. Now here's Shriver. Brian Shriver. New addition to the Armada. Trying to make a difference in his Jacksonville debut. Steinberger. Blake, the cross. Jackson got to it before J.C. Banks could find it. Now Cruz gave it up to Kevon George for Jacksonville.
Jackson gets around.
He does. He's active, there's no doubt.
Right side, left side, assist. Hard. He's going for the trifecta in this game here.
Got to fill out all the columns, right?
Check, check.
Game played, check. Game started, check. Assist, check. Yellow card, check. Becky making the turn on Luban.
Oh, Gebhardt could play the ball to Shriver, who's fresh off the bench. Good effort, though. Great turn. Watch, if he could have waited just 1/10 of a second. Great ball right here into the space by Burke. Great turn right there. Watch this run. Shriver's going to go left now. He's coming to the near post. That ball could have been played to the near post. And right now we would have been sitting on the 2-1 score by the Armada.
Now, you talked about Gebhardt. He's very fast, also the youngest player on the Armada roster. So some of that awareness will come with time.
Absolutely, and you got to take the goods, the pros and the cons. And one of the cons there is the fact that he doesn't have that experience.
And there is a player down for San Francisco. Is that Danny Cruz? Danny Cruz.
That is the forward Cruz, who's been all over the place, including the first. He scored the goal from San Francisco.
Clearly cramps here in the leg.
They're definitely not used to this weather.
Yeah, matter of fact, in San Francisco, the owner, Andres Brian Helmick, penned a very impassioned post online talking about the need for the club to really rally the troops, so to speak, to get the players, get the fans to come out. As you see Kalen Ryden stepping away for the first time this year, he'll go to the bench, and Pivo Due, defender for. So instead of having 7 o'clock starts at Kaiser Stadium out on Candlestick Point area, they moved up to 5 o'clock starts, so it wouldn't be quite as cold. Those problems, cold weather Jacksonville soccer, are not issues that usually come up in the same sentence.
Well, last week when I was doing the broadcast, Miami FC against the Deltas, everybody in the coaching staff from Miami and the players, they had full, warm-up suits on the bench. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it was a 6 o'clock start. And by the half, players, they had full, warm-up suits on the bench. Mm-hmm. And you're right, it was a 6 o'clock start. And by that halftime, the temperature had dropped to somewhere in the 40s.
So the sub, Dagoberto, the Brazilian, coming on, making his Deltas debut, replacing Danny Cruz. So Luban, Dagoberto, and Jordan, 3 subs have been made by Philip Dos Santos. This will be the group that will finish the contest for the Deltas. Ball over the head. Blake trying to get to it. Kevon George able to close in on it ahead of Dagoberto. Here's Steinberger playing it back to Meshach Jerome. Beautiful long crossfield pass now for Due.
I'll tell you, Dagoberto would love to get a goal in this match.
Here's Drew Becky swinging it in. And a little too much pushing and shoving in the box. Pivo Due making his regular season NASL debut today for the Armada. He had played in some U.S. Open Cup matches, but Due coming on now as a sub and is a left back guy. There he is. Hadn't had the chance because Ryden hadn't come off the field.
Dagoberto asking for the foul on top of the 18. I think there was contact. However, it wasn't with the intention to bring him down. He just went around the defender and just collapsed, just dove. The referee was close enough, and as you know, it has to be clear for you to call her in the breakaway.
Armada took the lead early in the 35th minute on the penalty kick by Jack Blake. In the 58th minute, Danny Cruz equalized. And that's where we are, 1-1 right now here at Hodges Stadium. Throw for Jacksonville coming up. This is the first match with new ownership for the Armada. And fans have come out to support the blue and bold. 3,126 on hand here at Hodges Stadium. And we would suspect that you'll see that rise. One of the things that Robert Palmer told us at halftime, there will be no excuse for not knowing when the games are with the kind of advertising budget he's putting behind the club.
Well, I can tell you that I absolutely guarantee you that you're going to start seeing better crowds here. As Robert mentioned, the new owner, that he's going to get on social media, TV, radio, anywhere and everywhere. As we see this good chance for the Armada on this foul.
This will be a free kick. Jack Blake will take it. The Armada scored from this spot earlier this year with Jake Blake taking a penalty kick, as you see Steinberger getting shouldered down by Greg Jordan. Keep an eye out on Aaron Pitch-Colin here. See number 5 near the penalty spot right now.
Yeah, the captain in the back. He's just trying to get away from the big man, Tommy Heineman, on top. Careful with the offside trap. Ball goes to the far post.
Served in. Becky came to it, head to head. Pazer came off to argue with Becky about going head to head with one of his players.
Oh, Becky is being called by the referee. Of course, the defenders from San Francisco watch the service going to the far post, and they're making reference to the fact that he was going elbow first.
That's Patrick Hopkins. Take a look here. Didn't see much in that, not from that angle anyway. Drew Becky gets the yellow card.
But see, here's the thing though. Why would you give him a yellow card if you're saying that there was no contact? It's either or, because here's the thing. If you're going to give him a yellow for elbow, that's got to be a red. It's a straight red. So there's no such thing as yellow if you are saying that there was contact. If there was contact, that should be a red. And from the angle that we saw, there was no contact whatsoever. They were both looking for the ball.
Pazer came out pretty aggressively off his line to support his teammate Patrick Hopkins, who's now back up and looking none the worse for wear. Final 11.5 minutes of regulation time. We're level at 1 in Jacksonville. San Francisco trying to steal some points away. Armada trying to stay unbeaten against the Deltas all time. Here's J.C. Banks. He's got Shriver making a run. Beautiful ball from Banks. Shriver gets to it. Here's the new Armada player. Middle of the park for Steinberger. Tried to one-touch it back to Banks. And now a counter opportunity for San Francisco. Jackson. San Francisco wanting a call. Didn't get it. And now the foul called on the Deltas.
Yeah, that's a bad tackle right there. It's the Brazilian international. He's asking for the call. But Shriver, on the other hand, by the Armada, had a chance to let the ball roll behind him, and he would have been on.
One of the things that Mark Dos Santos mentioned about Dagoberto was he probably would take some time to adjust. This is the first time he's played out of Brazil as a pro. So adjusting to the culture, the approach, how the training sessions go. This one served in, headed away by Ouimet.
Well, and I tell you, there's huge differences between being a pro in the U.S. and being a pro in Brazil, where they do 2 sessions a day, 2 a day. And it's just the level is different. Just everything about it is different. So you do expect to have that period of, adjustment, if you will.
And we saw that 2 years ago with a number of Argentinian players who the Armada brought in to start. A lot of guys adjusting to the language.
Oh, absolutely.
Adjusting to coaching styles. Well, the coaching wasn't too big an adjustment for those Armada players in the first year with Argentinian coaching. Here's Dagoberto. Plays it back for Michael Stevens. 81st minute in Jacksonville. Level at 1. The lights are on at Hodges Stadium. Here's Stevens again. Ouimet plays it forward.
And now it's almost like we're looking at a totally different team in San Francisco. They're keeping possession of the ball. They're switching to point of attack. They're now rushing to go forward. As soon as they equalize that game, it's kind of like they've changed the whole attitude.
I was about to say they've played very much an Armada style here in the last 5 minutes.
And now Armada is playing a little bit more of a long ball, a little more direct.
See the possession numbers for the game. So far it's been Jacksonville dominating possession as we expected. Armada, one of the best possession clubs in the North American Soccer League, especially playing at home against a team like San Francisco, who tries to be very clinical away. Tackled away by San Francisco, and a long run being made by Dagoberto. And the Armada looking a little lackadaisical in the back here in the closing 10 minutes.
Yeah, very cavalier just as to how they come out of the back. No rush, no urgency.
You can see Caleb Patterson-Sewell with his arms raised saying, come on, get back here, guys.
Well, you don't want a game like this just, getting away from you just because you wanted to take a break the last 7 minutes of the game. This is when you got to go out with a bang. You finish the game the way you started.
Ball into the box, headed away by Meshach Jerome. Gebhard came racing back to interrupt. Now Steinberger trying to get free, being grabbed by the jersey, no whistle. Here's Drew Becky along the ground for J.C. Banks. Banks right in the middle of the park. We'll give it back to Becky. They've almost gone to a 4-3-3 look here for the Armada with Shriver, Gebhard, and at times J.C. Banks playing up high. Into the box. Gebhard got a foot to it, was off balance though, and Ferreira will clear it out. Kept in by Kevon George. Dagoberto was right behind him, dispossessed him of the ball.
Yeah, no, you're right. Definitely the system of play has changed for both teams now. We have a change of San Francisco becoming the more of a possession team, and the Armada going forward numbers, but just not very clear.
Here's Blake along the ground, saved by Pazer. Both of these goalkeepers have made some highlight plays for their sides tonight.
Yeah, great shot by Blake right outside the 18. And once again, Pazer, the goalkeeper, just trying to keep his team in the game. That's what you want to do. Keep him in.
And a collision from behind. Blake went down hard. Looks like a guy who's been through the ringer tonight as he was steamrolled by Greg Jordan.
Yeah, not the first time that he's taken a shot from behind.
Training staff coming out. You could see Aaron Pitch-Colin kind of leaning down with a grin on his face, knowing it wasn't serious, but that Blake has been worn out.
I think that's his second yellow, though. That's Heineman, Blake.
Yeah, it would be on Jordan, not Heineman.
Yeah. Jordan had a yellow, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
No.
But Jordan, that's right, he was a sub. Jordan came in from lowers that shoulder and trucks over Blake, who never saw him coming in.
Blake's had a rough year. He had to get some stitches earlier this year, had a emergency appendectomy. He's taken some punishment.
One of those years, man, where just they say it builds character, so he's going to be all character by the end of the season here.
Here's the earlier shot by Blake. Kind of a short run up to it. Didn't get a lot on it, but was well placed. Pazer had to make the sprawling save.
Yeah, that was close. Ooh, that's a bad tackle right there. And watch, cleats up. That's going to be a
Jerome
yellow.
Down.
For sure, that's going to be a yellow. Make sure it's not a second yellow, because once again, Meshach, and it's the fact that the San Francisco player goes through the ball, what we call cleats up. Hopkins trying to argue his case in a court of law. It's not going to go well because see that once again. Now, what saved them there from being a red is the fact that he didn't fully extend that right leg.
That was Luban, by the way, with the yellow card.
Luban, you're right. But he definitely made contact on Mishak.
Final 5 minutes. Regulation time here in Jacksonville. This feels like one of those matches that the next bad mistake could be the one that is most remembered.
Well, and this is one of those games where anywhere around the 18, you want a foul, a free kick, a corner kick, something that is going to give you that advantage. Because if you look, Jacksonville has not really created anything clear in the last 30 minutes of this match. Everything's been kind of a kickball, and if you keep the ball, just nothing around the attacking third.
Another little flick on header by Pitch Cullen was trying to send it back to his goalkeeper, and Caleb Patterson-Sewell couldn't get to it. Patterson-Sewell goes down. He was trying to buy the whistle to give himself some time to get back into the box. Now he finally does.
Well, you see what he tried to do. He tried to say he was cramping. The referee didn't buy it.
Dagoberto, a moon ball. Mishak Jerome clears it out to give the Armada a breather.
Very clever, though. I got to give him a credit for creativeness. However, he didn't sell it well, and looked, he's not happy about it.
Well, the Armada have had some errant passes back to the goalkeeper. And here's the last sub for the Armada. Brian Rebion coming on for Derek Gebhard. So Rebion, who's more of a wing player, more so than a forward, comes on, and Gebhard comes off. He does bring good pace and fitness for the last 3 minutes plus. He'll have some fresh legs out there.
Well, and that's the key. You think we might be running out of time, but you want Rebion just to get to the end line, get some crosses in as we get another corner kick from San Francisco.
Just what you were talking about, Eddie, a corner kick opportunity, set pieces. They can change games in the final minutes.
Yeah, and for them, they're going to take their time. They're going to milk the clock, but when it's on, they're just going to drive it, trying to go direct, get a good chance on goal, just put it on frame.
Dagoberto handling the corner kick here for San Francisco. Headed right into the breadbasket. Easily handled by Caleb Patterson-Sewell.
Courtesy of Mr. Jackson in the far post. Once again, 87 minutes, and he's still around, making a case for himself.
Here's Jack Blake. Wide to Drew Becky. Now middle of the park for Kevon George. The Armada would like to build something here. Blake lost possession. Kevon comes to it. Back to Blake. Now to Becky. Pushing and shoving over there on Ferreira. And Luban able to drag it out of there and fire it forward for Dagoberto. You can tell both of these sides are feeling it right now. Jackson ahead to Dagoberto, the Brazilian connection. Cuts it back inside on Douay. Cross for Heineman, top of the box. Being pushed and shoved by Steinberger, who did a nice job against the taller Heineman.
Yeah, he's not going to get a call this late in the game, especially when it's a 50-50 challenge and you're the bigger of the two players. Not a chance.
Here's Ouimet, former Armada defender, former New York Red Bull. Tackled away by Douay. A minute of regulation time remaining. We will have some stoppage time. Here is Ouimet. Sent toward the spot and headed not dangerously toward Caleb Patterson-Sewell.
Dagoberto has been very active ever since he came in with about 12 minutes. Oh, bad
now
giveaway.
A sloppy giveaway. Heineman was offside. Goal will not count. He was offside. The Armada can breathe a sigh of relief.
Once again, what you and I talked about, Cole, you cannot finish the game like this and just in a bad giveaway, especially in the defensive third. You got to clear everything. You got to give everything out.
You can see Heineman. Yep. Not by much.
Not by much. And if you go to the rule that it's when the ball is played, not when he receives the ball.
So 4-minute stoppage time here coming as we've reached the 90-minute mark. Here's Jackson again, looking like the freshest guy on the field right now for San Francisco. Gets by Douay. Douay recovers, Another corner kick coming for the Deltas. The Armada right now hanging on by their fingernails to this 1-1 draw.
Hanging on to a game that you could have been taking care of it, a while ago. Now they're fighting even just to keep that tie tied.
I think both sides will think that they've had opportunities to find that second goal. Here's Dagoberto. Headed away, back to the Brazilian. Jackson, top of the D, gets the turn, didn't get much on it. Jerome will send it ahead for Rebion, who's playing a forward position now. And the ball popped up, hit him in the arm. Handball called.
As you can tell, San Francisco players, they're going to take their time, and why not? They should. They have what they came here for. It's 1-1 draw. They have the time, they have the score. Just take your time. You want to dink that ball in the box.
Here's Ferreira to take the free kick. Looking for Heineman. Did not direct it where he wanted to, and Drew Becky will track it down for Jacksonville. His ball redirected back toward him. Luban got in the way. Well, the Armada having a hard time making what seem to be pretty rudimentary passes right now.
Yeah, that's because you got to clear the ball out of the back. Why are you trying to dribble?
Here's Ferreira. Jerome got a foot to it. Ferreira again puts it over the top. Luban trying to get in position, looking for Heineman, and it went way over the top and out. Goal kick coming for Jacksonville. Caleb Patterson-Sewell, who has had all kinds of activity back there today, still looking for some more help. The Armada, their calling card was really defense this year. And yes, they've only given up the one goal tonight, but it hasn't been the crispest defensive effort.
No, you're right. It's just when you need to clear the ball, when you need to be just crisp out of the back, get rid of the ball, don't get in trouble. That's when they get in trouble. Trying to be, creative and keep the ball on the ground. Just get rid of it.
Here's Patterson-Sewell. Rebion. Got popped in the back by Ouimet. Free kick coming for Jacksonville. Yellow card against the former Armada defender.
Once again, yet another yellow for San Francisco. That goes to what I was talking about earlier. Just tactically, they're not disciplined. And something like this can cost you a game.
They're going to give it to Stevens rather than Ouimet.
This is when you got to get your goalkeeper and just drive it all the way in. You're running out of time. We know that Mr. Caleb Patterson-Sewell can drive a ball.
Into the box. Becky. Didn't get much on that one. Mishit it. As soon as he made contact, he knew it. Maybe time for one more charge if the Armada can gain possession again. Romuald Pezer, the veteran, will not be in any rush at all at this point. He will take his time like a stroll along the Champs-Élysées. The Frenchman sends it forward. Headed by Mishak Jerome. Foul called on Mishak going over the back of Tom Heineman. Free kick San Francisco.
And that's a bad foul because now you give San Francisco a clear shot from there. San Francisco plenty of time just to serve the ball in the box with no time left. So you have a chance to go to goal and then the game's going to end right there. So go to goal.
It's Dagoberto. He'll look for Heineman. Headed through. Cleared but not out. And now cleared out by Jacksonville. And that's the final whistle. A match that both sides will look back on and think of having missed opportunities. These two sides that were nip and tuck throughout the course of the spring season, they finish a 1-1 draw here in Jacksonville to start the fall. These two teams certainly building a rivalry, Eddie, and I would think that these are two teams that are going to see a lot of each other in the standings as the fall season progresses.
No, absolutely, Cole. Two teams that definitely should make the playoff run. They came, they fought a good match as far as, the physical attributes and both teams running. However, I think the Armada could have been better when you talk about player management and clock management as well. And also the score, the manager, you could have scored that 1-0. But of course, they made it difficult for them. And at the end, it was just a matter of how can we salvage 1 point.
Well, the Armada start the fall with a draw They started the spring season with back-to-back victories over FC Edmonton. Tougher competition here. Jack Blake gets his first goal of the fall season, his third goal of the year. Zach Steinberger visiting with former teammate Brian Burke, former teammate Carl Ouimet. All three of those guys wore Armada uniforms last year. Conversation continuing. You wouldn't necessarily think that Jacksonville and San Francisco, teams all the way across the country and in very different kinds of cities, would develop a rivalry, but I think these two teams are getting there.
No, you're right. I think you're right. A lot of the times it's the fact that they're so far apart, the fact that they match against each other, the fact that they're two teams that are good teams as well, and that rivalry is born because how active both teams are and how badly both of them want it.
Now this match certainly showed the Armada will benefit from adding some scoring punch. Shriver got in a bit. Tony Taylor, who will be returning to his adopted hometown of Jacksonville. He'll be starting training with the club shortly, as well as Kieran Kilduff, coming from Ireland, is going to be a welcome addition. And I think it's going to create a lot more competition during the training sessions as well. I think we're going to see a lot more out of these guys.
For